Bum ba-da-da-dum 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 da-da-da bum 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 bum. Hey, welcome back to Figure Depot. Today we're taking a look at the McFarlane 7-inch Michael Keaton 1989 Batman figure. This is a little one-take quick review. I just wanted to look at him against some of these other figures through the years. This is kind of just the highlights of some of the Batman figures through the years, not necessarily in order of their release, of course, but in height order, so you can kind of get a comparison. We have the Kenner Dark Knight collection, and the sculpts on these were awesome. That face sculpt is better to me than any of the other sculpts here, maybe excepting this one, but for a toy back in, what, 1991, 92? Somewhere in there. The sculpt work on that face was just incredible. The likeness to Keaton's fantastic. We, of course, in 89 got the Toy Biz, and the details were really good in the boots and the gloves and even the gimmicky little belts. The buckle itself still has a pretty decent design in terms of what you get on the costume in the film. You also get the little scallops up here over the shoulders, and, you know, the face sculpts were really soft, but, you know, it still had some decent details, especially for its time, and also the knees were articulated, whereas the Kenner ones were not, so kudos for that. Then, of course, we had the SH Figuarts, which, you know, is a frustrating figure. The proportions are a little off, a little wonky. He's very small, and they are smaller figures. They're more of like a 5-inch figure, 5 1/4, 5.5, than an actual 6-inch figure. And then you have the Mattel. Of course, this is a custom cape because the cape that came with it was absolutely ridiculous. And just word to the wise, if you get this figure, do not store the cape next to any of your other figures, because the dye on the leather will rub off and ruin any other figure that it touches. So just a little pro tip there. Here we have the Mattel, which of course I did a custom cape for. The cape that came with it was real thin, kind of like these old Toy Biz and Kenner ones, and just not cut very well. And I wanted something that could drape over his shoulders or come down in front and be nice and full looking. And so, yeah, did a modification to the cape there. I had contemplated putting the NECA, which I've sold mine, so I got to track down another one, but putting the NECA head on this figure. But now, looking at this figure, I'm thinking about putting the NECA head on this guy instead. I think that would be a really good head swap because it's oversized for the NECA figure, but I think on this body with these proportions, it would actually look really nice because it's essentially the same size as this guy's head. But you see his neck is so narrow, and it just looks segmented and funny. And of course, one of the things we love about the Keaton cowl in his films is how it was just one piece from the ears to the neck all the way down to the scallops over the shoulders. That's a design element that was really appealing. And so when you come in and chop it all up and add articulation, it just kind of detracts from that, in my opinion. But anyway, those are just kind of my thoughts and opinions. So I'm thinking about doing that, just taking this all off. I might leave the bat signal and just trim the NECA one to kind of line up with this one and let that signal stay, but get rid of the rest of this. So we'll see. But not going to do that in this video, just a comparison with what we've actually got here. So the detail in the torsos, the Figuarts one is very nice. The sculpt work, really good. In terms of color, this is probably going to be the most accurate. He did have the gold belt and the yellow bat signal. This is the one, of course, from the 6-pack. The one that came with the Batmobile is like this guy over here, gold and gold, rather than yellow and gold. And the gold on it is a little bit more closer to this color gold. This has has just a hint of more yellow in it, a little bit more of an orangey yellow gold, and this is the one on the Batmobile combo one is just a flat, straight gold, kind of like that. So, yeah, lots of good stuff here, and I have enjoyed each of these figures. Of course, I played this thing to death as a kid. It went everywhere with me, went to school with me. Actually, it was in a car wreck with me where I split my head wide open and had to get 54 stitches. So, blood, sweat, and tears have grown up with me with this figure all the way since '89. But yeah, the sculpt on the Kenner was a big improvement, and I really loved those figures. I had all the different variations of those figures, and was blessed to have grandparents that spoiled me rotten every year at Christmas and for my birthday. So I had all the vehicles, all the figures, and just lots of great memories there. This guy is a mixed bag. The articulation of the feet limits the posing a little bit, I think, and of course the cape that came with it was ridiculous. Adding a custom cape really enhances it and adds a nice dynamic to it. And I am going to be changing the cape on this guy as well. I'm going to go with a leather looking cape with some bendy wire so I can pose it around kind of like this guy's. So let's bring him in a little closer, just kind of get a closer look at the figure. Really nice. Love what I'm seeing here in terms of the sculpt. The likeness is decent. I don't know if I'm like 100% sold. I don't know. It doesn't look 100% like Keaton to me. Almost looks more like his stunt double, honestly. Ballet Bat, shout out to you. You can find him on Instagram. But his stunt double, to me, it almost looks more like than it does Keaton himself. That NECA head sculpt is the epitome of perfection, I think, in this scale. Then you got some, people doing aftermarket heads that have some good likenesses, but that NECA one just really was fantastic in the 7-inch scale. So if you're looking for a head swap for this guy, I definitely recommend that one. Sculpt in the ab armor is really nice. You can tuck the cape back, kind of like he does sometimes in the film when he's fighting. That looks all right. Not wild about the material they used for this cape. It has a very like gym shorts texture to it, which to me is, I just don't like it. It's too porous. A leather looking cape is going to be a much better choice. The gauntlet detail is fantastic. You got the ribbing here on the gloves and the wrists. You got the little fins here. The plate armor, like all that looks great. Accuracy, this is a fantastic figure for in terms of accuracy. I got a little hair or something on there. There we go. But the sculpt in the abdomen armor is good. Accurate to the film, of course. The belt looks fantastic. I mean, look at that belt. That is just really, really nice design and color. And it's consistent with the character, with the film. What they did miss is the back armor plating. It's not present on this figure, which if you've seen the film, you know he's got some back armor plating on the back, but it's all right. But yeah, rest of the details and everything look really nice. You got the shin guards, the foot plate over the Nike Air Jordans down there. So all of that is accurate to the film. Tread on the bottom is not so much accurate, but the rest of the detail on the top is pretty good. All excepting any kind of Nike embellishments, which of course they'd have to pay royalties for, and I'm sure they don't want to do. So yeah, overall I really love this figure. Just kind of looking at him next to the Mattel figure real quick, we'll get a little comparison here. This is not bad. The belt detail is really nice. It's just missing some of the finer details in the sculpt, and of course it has the incorrect bat signal. And also the armor plating on the gauntlets here is just nothing even remotely close to the film, but they did a good job on the boots. And I kind of like the way they did the Keaton movie boots, because they, on the Flash movie, you don't have the big clunky like overpiece, but you still get some of that sculpt work in there. It's kind of similar to how they did this guy. And I don't know, I kind of wish they hadn't done the big floppy funky foot cover. I wish they had just kind of worked it into the sculpt like they did in the Flash movie figure, which I don't have handy to show you an example of, but if you've got one of those, you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so it's just a really nice figure. And here we can look at the figure arts. Obviously scale, you know, there's no comparison with the scale, but you can see having a leather cape really adds a nice dimension, especially with bendy wire, because you can pose it around however you want, get it blowing in the wind and swooping and all that good stuff. But you can see they also, and I don't know if it's coming off on my camera, the light may be too intense, but this is more of a mustard yellow and this is a more lemon yellow, so you do get the contrast. So they got that part of that correct. You know, and the gauntlet detail and all that is, of course, film accurate. So good details on this guy. He just kind of a frustrating scale. Yeah. And of course, there's no comparison with those older ones. In terms of articulation, you get the head, of course, on a ball peg, so you can look up. Of course, you do get that cut in the sculpt, which a lot of people are dismayed by, but you can get some cool poses if you're able to get past that. I don't know. It's a mixed bag. I think I wouldn't mind having one like this that I can pose around, and then having one with a head swap that's just a single piece cowl. I think that's eventually what's going to happen in terms of my collection. But the articulation's great. It's just standard McFarlane stuff. You know, you get the swivel there, you get this socket here, and the little coupling here so that it hides the gap so you can kind of move them around. Really good double jointed elbows there, and of course you got your ball hinge wrists. We all know what that does. We've got real nice movement with the combination of the two joints here. You can really get some great posing. So much better ab crunch than what we've seen in recent McFarlane figures. We do get our splits, and leg kick almost 90 degrees. Diaper gets in the way a little, but not too bad. You can heat it up and get it to move for you and get doubly jointed knee bones. And then of course there's no real swivel, just a minimal amount. And then you've got your typical McFarlane ball joints on the feet. So you go down and go up, you get your toe articulation, and then you do get a swivel mechanism. So yeah, it's a little stiff right now. I'm gonna have to heat it up. But basic McFarlane articulation. So final thoughts on this guy. Looks good on the floor. Final thoughts on this guy. I like it a lot. Like I said, I'm going to do something different with the cape, and we'll eventually do a head swap to kind of get a more accurate look for the cowl, but for what it is, it's really, really good. I recommend it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bum,